Hey team, welcome to Inside the Movie Photographer with Jasin Boland. Today we have part 2 with Delly Carr, one of the great sports photographers, not only from Australia, but anywhere. He's done 7 Commonwealth Games, 9 Olympics, and looks after the Australian swim team, triathlon, you name it. He's photographed it in the sporting world. So let's hook straight into it. Over to Delly. Oh, this is the sled.
Yeah.
Oh, how
you asked me the question.
I can only imagine. Sorry?
You asked me the question, which is the hardest sport to shoot? It's the luge bobsled guys at the Winter Olympics. Insane speed, insane. And I'm only, I don't know, a couple of meters away from the track. So you try and pan this missile, you can hear it coming, you hear this thunder, and then it appears and then it's gone. And you're just hoping that you've caught something.
So again, you're not able to pan with it, or can you pan a little bit or not?
So I have panned. And again, 999, I've probably missed the luge or whatever, but again, this one's come up well because it's a white sled on the white of the track. And I'm going to assume now, I should look at them, but the riders were obviously dark or black. So, yeah, it's just, I was after this effect. The white on white just made it for me.
Well, when you send me a signed print of one of your pieces, this is the one I want.
Yeah, it is one of my favourites of all time. Thank you for saying that. But it got no reaction from anyone. They just went, no. No, it's just...
What?
It's just futuristic. It's different. It's Star Wars. It's all this other stuff in this picture.
Star Wars. Okay, I get where this is going. It's very Star Wars. It is very Star Wars. Now, come on. This is a great story.
Yeah, it was me walking out of table tennis at Sydney 2000. And as I'm walking out and I got nothing that day, they were just crap photos, I looked at someone serving and the moment I looked, the ball was there. It was there. And I went, wow, that looks good. And I hadn't shot table tennis again for another 4 years till I got to the next Olympics in Athens. I had a day off. Do I rest and have something to eat and get a haircut and all that sort of stuff? I said, no, I'll go shoot table tennis and shoot the picture that I saw 4 years ago. And it was in my head for 4 years to get this picture.
Really?
Yeah. So, and I continue when I have some time off, I go and try and get something different. So I have various versions of this picture. That's the clown nose. I've got a couple in the middle of the forehead. I've got a couple in the mouth. I've got a couple with the ball over the eye. So it's just that little comical picture. You know what sport it is. You don't have to see the bat. That's my humour coming out in me, as opposed to the man who loves sports. It's just a bit of my weird humour.
Yeah, but you got to look for the sublime, don't you?
Yeah.
Now, this technique. This technique. I mean, that's multi-exposure, right? I mean, I've never done it.
Camera.
It's so cool.
You do need
and this is in camera.
Yeah, this is the one in camera, the multiple exposure button within the Nikon menus. There's 4 balls, so I've chosen 4 frames, and it overlays each one on top of each other. So, obviously, and in the serve, obviously they don't move too much. So, but the ball's done all the work there. You do need a dark background because the black on black on black, and you don't see movement in the background. Do it again. If they're all spectators there, they would have moved. It would have been just a mess. So you've got to also learn to keep still. You keep that camera still. You don't move with the action. Let the action move within the frame.
That's a good tip.
It is, and it's tough to do, particularly if you've shot sport for so long. If you're shooting,
is that how the guys do when you've got ski jumping and stuff like that, or motocross? And you've got them all going through. Is it in camera as well, or is it layered?
That can be, but there was a little trend for a while there that I would just use Photoshop to do that. But yeah, you can do it against the blue sky because it'll be blue and it'll be constant.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
See, I didn't realise. I always wondered how it got the exposure so correct, but it makes sense that if it's taking 4 frames and it's layering it over the top. So this would be a JPEG that it comes out at, right? Not a RAW?
Yeah, it's a JPEG, definitely.
Yeah, right. Wow, that is so. I'm going to try that. Come on, the bolt.
Yeah, that's nothing too dramatic. You've seen it all before, but I'm a sports photographer, and to have big name athletes in your portfolio is a good thing. You say that I've been to the Olympics. I've shot Usain Bolt at the 100 meters or 200 meters, whatever the case may be. It shows it's part of your marketing. It's to say I'm not a backyard photographer, but I've been to the top level of sports and shot that as well. So if I'd gone to this event, it was just to get a shot of Usain winning, a shot of the Usain pose, and that's part of my marketing to tell people I'm good enough to go to an Olympic Games and shoot the prime event of an Olympic Games. This is a pain in the ass to shoot. I've got to be there from the morning to get a position because it's the #1 event of the Olympics.
Oh.
So it's a waste of a day. Not a waste in theory, but you've spent a day to get this one frame.
Is that to hold your position or just that they won't let you come in and out?
Because it is the #1 event. Every photographer wants to be there. So you all get there to try and get your spot, and you stay in that spot and make sure someone holds that spot for you when you want to go to the bathroom or get something to eat.
Is athletics hard to photograph at the Olympics on a?
Well, I've never really succeeded all that well, but I have had friends who are track and field photographers, and they beautiful work. Admittedly, it's in a stadium, like I am at a swimming pool. They are in a stadium, but they know the angles. They know how to shoot it properly. They know where to be. They know all the right things. So I've shot one event, and some specialist track and field guys have shot it, and their work kills mine. So,
well, but that comes back to what you're saying before, is like to be successful. I mean, I say it all the time, success only comes from failure, but also with to be a successful photographer and a name brand photographer, that you really need to specialize. You can't be a jack of all trades.
of course. I don't understand guys that start off and they go, I'm a commercial, sports, wedding, people, portrait photographer. You're not good at, you can't be good at everything to do it properly.
No. And I always tell the younger ones too. It's like, when your kids, like we started at school and that, of course you're going to, you photograph things that interest you. And as you're saying, it really is important to zero in on something, and, rightly or wrongly, if you want to be the best at something, you've got to concentrate on the one thing.
And then within that specialty, then you become something within that specialty. So when you've started, you could be the young gun that, the hip young gun that can do that, but you're probably at the same level where I am now, that I'm the experienced one that knows his shit, knows what to do. He'll get the job done. He'll do it properly. So you move on, and there's no point in me trying to promote myself as the young guy with the cap on backwards and listening to the right music. That's not the case. I'm the professor. I'm the older bloke that knows his stuff. And I'm going to guess that you're in a similar sort of boat, that you've been doing it for so long, so promote the fact that you've been doing it for so long.
Yeah, no, totally. And, I've always specialized from the beginning. Nothing's really deviated, including the style. And, as I say to everyone, there's no shortcuts. It's like you've got to suffer for your art the same as the rest of us. And if you give up, then you're going to lose it. So you've got to, just like the sports people, with their training and that, our job is no different to keeping the edge.
Exactly right. I agree with everything you said.
Now, I remember the story to this, Delly, and it's pretty stunning. So, come on.
Yeah, it was the test event for the para triathlon in Rio, and I just wanted to promote the fact that they're para athletes as opposed to any other athlete, and that was to make a silhouette. The sun's beaming into my face, and again, I found a spot where I'm pretty much on ground level. So that's how that whole comes across. The whole thing comes across. You see how the people have disappeared because I'm down so low, and they're underneath that point. It's obviously one leg, the crutches in motion, and the foot's off the ground. So it says a lot about para sports.
Yeah, the para sports have a big spot in your heart, don't they?
They do quite a bit. Good people. Like when I did get sick a few years ago, like we briefly spoke about, they were the first people that came to me and gave me words of encouragement and sent me papers and books. So beautiful people. Yeah.
Oh, you give me a tickle down my spine. Now, weren't you meant to take our dear friend Andrew Follows, who sadly is not with us anymore, to Paralympics, right?
Yeah, well, he was going to come with me to Japan for the Paralympics, and it's such a stunning story that a blind photographer has such a passion for photography. They don't go together, the word blind and photography, does it? But he proved wrong, and we got into the Commonwealth Games. I got into the Commonwealth Games. That I argued it, and they were thinking, insurance reasons and things like that. But, I managed to talk to some people, and he's just as good as everyone else, and there's no reason why we should not give him the pass. And we got to the Commonwealth Games there in the Gold Coast, and his big dream was to get to the Paralympics in Japan. And I'd say we would have got him there too. Sadly, he's in heaven now, and he'll be shooting some other stuff, I guess.
Yeah, breaks my heart. I spoke to him only a couple of days before it happened too, which was which I feel very fortunate about that I was able to.
Yeah.
But he was a bit of a hit at the Commonwealth Games too. The BBC were doing stories on him and everything, right?
A rock star, totally. Yeah, and it was great. The rest of the photographers too, they realised, well, first there was a little initial shock. Why is a blind guy here? But then they were helping him, and they helped him and his guide dog and made sure he got in the right spot. And the photo managers were amazing. The photo managers always kept a spot for him, and one of the better ones. So, he proved it to me by his images that he knows what he's doing. He knew what he was doing. He used all the other senses other than sight. So, yeah, he became a rock star, and I was like his protege, I guess.
Yeah. What a mentor. But, I mean, we knew him for a long time, and he used to explain to me that what he did was he basically just saw the blur, and, it was like everything was the image was all out of focus. He could make out stuff, but he couldn't make out exactly what it was. So to be able to do that is quite something else. Here's your shot. Oh, yeah, baby. Love it.
It's part of that swim one that I was telling. I got into a helicopter and shot this one. And there were a lot of photos taken, but the orange buoy just adds that so much more to it.
Oh, just the light. Is it morning light or afternoon?
Yeah, morning, early, 7-ish in the morning. This is Hawaii as well, so they're out far from the shore. So we've got a now dark blue.
Oh, it's very deep then, huh? It's off the shelf
spot, which is what I wanted because the athletes' skin tones obviously are light.
Yeah,
but a lot of images, and they're all good images. But the boy here just adds that little dimension to it, which catches your eye as well.
Oh yeah, I love it. I can only imagine how many posters this is.
It's never been done. So no
one. Oh really?
Well, at that time, it's been done since. But to get permission to go in a helicopter and do it was a bit of a pain, but it got approved, and then they realised what I was trying to do. So yeah, this became.
So you come up with.
Yeah.
You come up with the concepts with a lot of these, don't you?
Yeah, but I've been to this race 10 times, and I didn't want to shoot it from the same media position on the pier. I spent the money on the chopper, but it had not been seen before, and it was used quite a lot. So in theory, all the editorial money that I earned from it paid off the helicopter and a bit more.
What lens is this?
I would say it would have been the 300 2.8, I'd say.
Yeah, right. Okay.
They couldn't get too close to the athlete, so it had to have been a long lens.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially in the US, the parameters would have been insane. I remember when you posted these shots, and this is what I love about, you know, exactly what you're just saying before. You know, it's like looking for a different angle, and you must have just sat there that day and just gone, "Oh yeah, I've got the light, everything." Now, if the athlete will just cooperate,
it was that time of day. It's like we had the athletes this time, and we're in the Middle East, and you know, the sunsets in the Middle East are beautiful. And that's what this picture's about. And she's the world champion, and again got up a little higher for me and is in the classic running pose. Probably didn't do it quite right. The sun is a little too far to the right, but in saying that, you take what you get. But this is me waiting for that moment in the day where the Middle East turns into this beautiful colour.
Yeah, but I think that's the thing about photography too. It needs a little bit of imperfection because you don't want it. You want it to be real and a little something that you don't feel comfortable in yourself. Like, I think it's a great shot, but I understand. But I know what you're saying is. It's like, oh, I would have liked it if it was. But yeah, it's you know, I think for me, a slight imperfection gives it more reality. And
sure,
you're smashing it, buddy. I love it. This is a great shot. Oh, how long ago was this? It's not that long ago, was it?
5 or 6 years, roughly.
Yeah, right.
I should look it up. It's been called the greatest photograph in triathlon by the triathlon world. So people keep talking about when they know the stories, and I get emails about it almost every day. Can we get a copy? I want to put it up in my office to motivate me and all that sort of stuff. And this is that long triathlon I was speaking about, the 4 kilometres, 180 kilometres in the marathon run. And it was that time of day with the sun setting. The event still goes on for another 6 or 7 hours after this for all those that there's a 17-hour cutoff, and there's a lot of people that go to that cutoff. This is the sun setting. I'll get the classic guy running into the sunset type picture, but this guy stopped, quite athletic as you can see, but he was stuffed. He was gone, and he still had another 21K to run, so that's a long way. He's already done half a marathon. He stopped there, and I thought, well, that's great. I've got pictures of the seagulls. They're like vultures, and he's hunched over. It shows you how hard this event is. When the little girl came up and started speaking to him, and that was his daughter.
Break my heart.
Now that she's going, Daddy, don't give up. You've got to finish for me. So now that the heartstrings are being tugged, and I'm trying to take pictures, and my eyes are watering, and I'm crying. So I could only see a blur, but I'm shooting away. And it's a nice picture, when you know what the content is or what it's all about, but just the way, it's a little girl, her legs are bow-legged like that. She's innocent. Dad's muscular. He's got calves. He's strong. And you got the innocent little girl. And he did continue. Took him another 3 or 4 hours to do the next 21K.
He finished.
Yeah, so he did finish. I managed to look at data and his race number, and he did finish 3 or 4 hours later. We met a few years after that for an interview in the triathlon media world. He didn't remember the moment. He now has a copy of this picture. But, yeah, he had a bad day, and he would have quit at that point had the little one not come up to him.
The power and responsibility of being a daddy, huh?
Yeah, it does. And that's why people want the copy for their walls, because they have to make sacrifices to do the training for this event. It's an endurance event. And that means maybe not having dinner while you're out training, not having dinner with the family, or getting up early and not taking the kids to school because you're training for this endurance event. And this reinforces what they're all about. So, it's when you know the story and you realize the contrast between girl and father, that how beautiful a picture it is.
Oh, makes me want to cry, actually. I've got to move on.
I still
Unbecoming of me. Yeah, exactly. You see, most people just don't think to shoot sport like this. I mean, like, it's to me, it's like, you know, the ticker tape fountains coming down at the end of a win kind of thing, you know. But it's mid race, right?
Yeah, this is an elite triathlon again. They're running out salt, obviously out of a saltwater swim and the showers just to give them to wash the salt off as they run to their bikes. But this is just years of experience when you realise what light will do and what water will do. So I'm not going to shoot them just running through water. I said, well, there's dark mountains in the back. The sun's hitting me in the face. So it's all backlit. So the water, the white water, the shower is just going to stand out. And that's exactly what I was trying to achieve. And that's just understanding how an image will look in the camera. You know what the camera's doing for you. You've got to now get it to recall what you're interpreting. And that's the reason. And that's why the athlete's so far down in that bottom third. Let's get some water. Let's get the sprays looking as they are. So
yeah.
Yeah,
that's really that's a good point that you bring up, actually, is not, you know, is basically what you're saying is you don't photograph for what you want, for what you think other people want. You photograph it for just what you want.
Yeah, of course. But it tells stories. It's you know what's happening. It's just done differently. I could have gone to the end of the showers and had the athlete running through the water, and I've done that before. This is just a different way. I knew the sun's rising up over those mountains. I'm going to get dark mountains, and that water's going to get lit up by the sun. So that's
so good.
Experience, and that's just understanding it.
Yeah. Oh, what a just to have access to all these is fantastic. And you know that what we're talking about right at the beginning about refining your process and your style and your photography. I mean, you can see, you know, I love the way that you do it, and your work is just so crisp. It blows me away. So, and I love this.
You show me all these photos. I'm getting really touchy. Fairly.
Good.
It's again just what your mind has matured and your eyes have matured to. You see things and you see the opportunities that someone just starting out won't. And I mean, this is the swimmer's finished an open water swim. He's gone under the pier and he comes out from the shadow of the pier. So that darkness is the shadow of the pier, and finally comes up into the light. And he's finished his race and he's a nice, casual, easy mood. So it's an artistic way of looking at it, but that's your mind looking at things and the way it's behaving, and you're doing all this in a split instant. You don't get another chance. So you're thinking, where are they going? What's the light doing? How will it look? Blah, blah, blah. And that's when you press the shutter button. And that's when the camera has to do its job, and it does its job. Nikon always does its job. Yeah, there's all these things happening in your brain, and it's ticking over, and then you press the button, and bang, the camera does its job after that.
You can plan for these images all day long, but at the end of the day, it's only instinct that captures them, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It is an instinct that gets you to that point where you try and get the picture. I will not lie. I've done things that I've sat there all day and the picture never came. But there are other times it does, and that's when you do your little quiet dance on the pier and you go, yes, I've got the picture that I wanted. Because the athlete may come out in a funny way or may not look athletic. So there's a whole lot of variables, but you're planning for this picture. When they come out and they're the right shape and form, bang, it's perfect. Beautiful.
And for people that are interested in what you and I do, and you know, how to be there for moments like this, I don't think it's healthy for them to think that we nail it every time either. I think it's, you know, as I said before, you know, success only comes from failure, and sometimes, you know, it's not even a failure having a day that you didn't get anything. It's just life.
I'm totally agreeing. Every sports photographer would be lying if they did say they always get the picture, they don't. That's not the truth. There's so many variables within sport or within what you're doing that can change the whole dimension of the picture.
Yeah.
But like you said, you learn from that. You learn what I did and what I didn't do wrong. I only take this picture after I've done everything else that I had to on the brief, and that's photos of people swimming and doing all the other things. So,
hey, exposure-wise, because you've got a lot to think about anyway. I mean, I shoot manual, but that's because I have lots of varying light and, conditions. But do you shoot manual exposure, or are you an aperture priority or something like that?
I'm a manual person. To achieve that effect, I wouldn't have let the camera do that. No, it's up to me to tell the camera what it should shoot it at. Yes,
Thank you.
There are times where things change. All of a sudden, the sun pops out from behind the cloud, and bang, it all changes. But again, you've got to work. You have to work out in your brain what the exposure should be or where it should be.
Yeah, and what you're trying to achieve. Like, as much as with teammates with our camera, at the end of the day, we're still the boss. We're the captain.
Of course. It is a tool. It's a valuable tool to what we are, but we are the captain. We're the person in charge of that. Look, the great guitarists of the world aren't great guitarists because of the guitar they've bought. They're telling the guitar how to sound at that point, but you buy the best of what is available, so that the guitar will give you the sound that you want it to give, and that's the same with our cameras, our Nikon cameras. We're
100%.
But it is the best tool to then interpret what we've told it.
Yeah. Even if it's just to make ourselves feel better. With noise and stuff like that. But the manual thing I find really important, especially with the enthusiast photographer who, as you know, I've always sit there and say that, the enthusiast is the very heart of photography. And if there's one trick that I can give them, it is to shoot manual, because it teaches you to see the light. And, we come from film days where we didn't have the ability to look through a big, beautiful EVF or the back of a screen. Yeah. And shooting, I know there is a lot of people that shoot auto exposure, and it definitely has its uses for many areas. But if you're not an experienced photographer and you're using auto exposure, you're never going to learn light.
Absolutely, you will not learn light. And as wonderful as our Nikons are, they can be tricked by light. A dark uniform or a dark shady background will change the whole dimension of it. So no, we have to learn light early on, both of us in the film days. I now know if I'm in the middle of a field and the sun goes behind a cloud, how many stops that means. You learn light. You learn how it behaves.
Yeah, exactly. And you can feel it. It's like, okay, that's and you can see it. You can see it like, hey, that dropped a third of a stop, and I think it's a really important thing. Oh, I love this. They're just knackered. That's it. Game over.
and the sign experience extraordinary, like
yeah.
That one. So traditionally, I would probably, again, the athletes know me and trust me that I'd use a wide angle and stick my hands out and shoot it from above. But I just thought the sign just meant so much. That was first, second, and third, and they were stuffed.
Oh, it was first, second, and third.
Yeah, so just look at how exhausted they are, the poor things. And that's,
and that's adorable that they're all together too. It's not like
they may have done their little hug and they've just gone, we're stuck, we're down, and like the media are just waiting for them. So they needed a break, and that's wonderful. And they're all different poses, and it's all good. But the sign made it for me. Maybe I could have cropped it to have experience extraordinary. Not but still.
Which it is. I remember when you posted this on Instagram, I was like, stop it.
Well, this is rowing. When they employed me, that they had their shots of rowing, and they are wonderful athletes, but are the pictures extraordinary? No, when they're rowing, and they tend to look the same. So this is me getting there early in the morning as the sun's rising to just get pictures that were totally different. And they'd not seen this before prior to that. So it meant me being a few hours before competition, but getting them when they're doing their little warm-ups and training and doing something a little different. And blessed in the way that Penrith Lakes are made, that the sun is always rising on the opposite end. So we're always going to get that beautiful glow in the water.
Ah, really? Yeah, no, I love that. But this is what I love about your photography. It's, you know, it's, I don't know. It's like, I think that 300 years ago, you would have been the guy sitting around the campfire telling all the kids the stories of what went on in the past. And now this is extraordinary. And I was trying to figure out what it is. Is this like motorsport?
No, this is, again, cycling tour down under. Of the final, at the final, and that's all the confetti that, you know, when he gets his trophy and comes down. This, for years, I've shot this confetti shot, and invariably the camera will focus on the confetti. So, again, it took a little thought, what can the camera do? How do I do this properly? Because the camera's doing what it's supposed to do with the autofocus, but in this case, I don't. So when he gets his trophy, then I lock the focus on his face and it stays locked, and then let all the confetti come down, and that's why he's in focus in this instant. As in slide the lens or the camera into manual focus, or? Yes, exactly. Yeah, so right. Autofocus on his face, knowing that he's going to stay in his allocated position, the media position he's supposed to, then put it into manual so it won't move. Then let all the confetti fall around me and the camera's not going to get fooled. Again, shot 30, 40 frames, and it's the only one that you see a mouth or a smile or his eyes. So, yeah, right. Tough shot. And look, it's beautiful colours, blah, blah, blah. So it works in this instance. Yeah, but that's, again, too, the teamwork with you and your camera, what we're talking about, and showing it who's boss. It's like, you know your limitations, and let's push those limitations, and that's what photography is about. I don't think there shouldn't be any rules in photography. You know, anyone that's listening, there are none, right? There are none. What, the rules? I don't have any. That's classic. Field hockey. Yeah, always wanted to photograph this. It's tough. It's not easy. The netballs and the hockeys and that, they're tough. Maybe because I hadn't played them as a kid and where the ball's going and how they behave. So it's tough. And this one was, the goalie was trying to save the ball, and the Australian's coming in, and he's taking a massive tumble over the goalie. And I remember as I pressed it, I just remember I went, whoa, whatever happened looks good. I reckon it'll look good. And then, going through the frames, and he's a mile off the ground, and then I got him crashing into the goalpost. Because we can feel it, can't we? But it's not until it doesn't matter how many times you look on the back of the screen, it's not until you get home and you look at it properly and go, oh, I got it. Yeah, but that's how quick, I agree. And that's how quick it happened, because I knew, I said, okay, the goalie's going to save it. And I might have stopped at that point, but then I saw colour and movement, and I just kept my finger down, not knowing what it was. There are times where we might go, okay, this is about to happen, bang, and let it run. But this was one that was happening a thousandth of a second. I could see a little thousandth of a second burst on it. Something's happening because there's green and gold moving around, but not knowing what I got. And that's the thing about action too, isn't it? I mean, you've said this to me before. It's like, and we've had the same discussion. It's we know when the action is about to start, but we don't know when it's going to finish. So you've got to follow it all the way through. It's like, golf stroke, right? Totally agree. It's tough to do that. But there are times you're going, there's a whole lot of elements coming to that one point. And that's when you start pressing the button. The light's good. I'm in the right spot. There's no one in my way, blah, blah, blah. You can feel that nuclear detonation about to kick off. It's exactly how that's a really good analogy. It's a nuclear reaction. It's pretty exciting. I love talking photography with you. And I'm glad that we've got an opportunity to lay it down, for people to listen to your technique and to look at your images. And,
instead of just you and I at dinner talking about it, because you know, they're not wasted conversations, but it is really nice to share, to be able to share these.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, look at that.
Socceroos.
That's Socceroos, right?
Socceroos. It's reactions again and putting yourself in the right spot.
Oh,
but again, emotion.
yeah.
He's one of the more emotive ones, and again, looking at the Aussie fans and the cheering, and so you put yourself in that spot. And at halftime, when they have to go to the other side, you move over to the other side because you're following that one team.
Yeah, right. Do you move around a lot, or do you try and hold a position and let the action come to you?
Good point. Some of the bigger events, you're allocated a spot and you don't move. So then you're stuck, not stuck there, but that's where you're allocated. You don't move, and hope the action comes to you, and make the most of when it does come to you. So in the sports that I know and love and I'm contracted to do, 9 times out of 10, I'm moving all the time.
Right.
The Olympic trading, because in the Olympics you're told this is where you're sitting, you're not going anywhere, you don't go anywhere. And,
right.
you know, that can be really frustrating. And after day 4, you realize, well, I can't do anything creative. I'll just shoot it as it is. So, you know, once you get over that initial, you know, upset bit that I can't do what I want to do, then you start shooting in a more composed manner, but get the best pictures of what you can get.
Yeah. Now, in my professional sports photographer career as a dad photographing kids' sports,
you're shooting ice hockey.
Yeah, and it's back. Now, I always get asked about questions about what it is, and as I'm not a sports photographer, I would like to ask you this question: do you follow the player or the ball?
That's why the hockeys and the netballs are tough, because invariably, and even football, invariably you follow where the ball is about to go, where the puck is about to go, right? Mm-hmm. It's not about the person hitting the puck so much. It's about where it's going, because that's where that collision or that thing's about to happen, or the tackle. You're kind of trying to be one play ahead of it. Doesn't always happen.
Yeah, it is quite important to have. Not important, but it adds something to have the puck or the ball in the shot. I think in many instances, but you know, unless it's a celebration, of course.
It has to be in the shot, definitely, but you're going to have to be one play ahead, and that's what netball's like. Chung 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 chung, and you go. Well, by the time you move, they're 3 plays ahead of you. So that's why I struggle with netball. I struggle with the hockey because I don't know it well enough to know where that ball's going. The sport gives you such action that you will get something, but do I know the sport well enough? No.
But ice hockey's a bit of your hobby sport to photograph, isn't it?
Yeah, because I love watching it as a kid. I just love the thuggery and the speed and the size of the players and the noise, the whole thing. So
I'll bring you to a Bears or a Canberra Brave game when I'm in Sydney soon.
I'll be there.
If you want to come along, we can go and photograph it. Yep. Now this is such a powerful sport image. Oh my gosh. And the color in this. What camera is this?
That was Sochi, so it would have been D4S maybe? D4-ish at the time. Sochi's how long ago? Yeah, I'd say it was D4 era.
Yeah, right. Wow.
Beautiful time of the day. It was the sun is setting, and her colour and her pose and the colours and the mountains in the back. I love you, man, because you're picking some pictures that I see a lot more in them than other people do. You know, it's not just a skiing picture for me. There's a lot more.
No. Oh, the eyes. It's just the eyes, the determination. It's a powerful, powerful. You know, in my world, this would be the poster.
Yeah, I agree totally. Physique, the colours, the light of day, there's the flow of the the way she is. Yeah, there's a lot to it. Even the golden glow of the lights in the background, comparing them to the gold of her poles. There's a lot more to it.
Yeah, and the mountain in the background, how it's just, you know, framing up over the head, and it's just everything just flows beautifully in this image.
You look at the back of the camera on the screen, you go, that's the picture. Yeah. But she's got the right goggles on in the light of day, and you can see her eyes, which is, you know, beautiful.
Oh, yeah, it's such a good look.
Celebration again, Winter Olympics. Again, I was speaking about Olympics, and you can't really get creative. Well, maybe that's a good thing not to be too creative in Olympics. It's about what I said before. It's that gold, that bit of metal around their neck. It's about winning. It's about their 4-year journey or 8-year journey to be at that point. So this is exactly what this is about. It's a celebration. It's a point in their life. You know, if I could come back again and have one wish, it'd be win a medal at an Olympic Games. Just feel what that's like.
Oh, yeah. Imagine this is speed skating too, right?
Yeah, it is. It's speed skating.
Oh, that'd be such an amazing sport photograph.
You get to that point where you've won that bit of medal that you've been going since you were a kid. You were always dreaming of being an Olympian.
Well, Hunter's one of Hunter's buddies from school. He is a figure skater, and it's kind of funny watching the two. You know, Hunter the ice hockey, and he's this little guy, and he's and he's a figure skater. But he watched the Olympics in Japan, the Winter Olympics in Japan, and he saw the Japanese figure skater. I can't remember. I think he won gold. I'm not sure, but it was a medal. And he was only like 5 or 4 or 5, and he sat there and he said, I want to win. I want to go to the Olympics.
Yeah.
And now here he is, 13 years old, and he's in the Australian team.
Yeah.
And you know, training with all the elite athletes. And that came from a dream at 4 or 5 years old or something.
Yeah, and your boy maybe says, I want to be on the team that wins the Stanley Cup one day, or whatever the case may be.
Well, he definitely wants to be on the team at the Stanley Cup.
Yes. For Man United. So, you know, it's their dreams that's how they get there. And so imagine being in the Olympic Games and you've won a medal when you've been dreaming about it since you were a toddler.
Oh, it's visualization, isn't it? Yeah, come on, the greatest sport on earth.
Yeah, and
the fastest sport on earth.
It is. It's a great sport, and I just love that thuggery. And see, now I framed it again with the Olympic rings there to make sure that we know the time and the place for that. So that's part of that whole thing. Particularly, as I said, in the Olympics, you get a position where you can see the Olympic rings.
It's Sweden and Finland, right?
Yeah, you know more than I. Yes, it is. I think it's red versus yellow to me, but this is the one where I broke. Was it the one I broke my nose? Where, not knowing ice hockey, I had the camera pressed up against the glass. Didn't realise how much give that glass has got. When these two monsters hit the glass pushed back on the camera. Camera pushes back on my nose and breaks my nose. So I spent the rest of the game in the bathroom with toilet paper stuffed up my nose to stop the bleeding. So
rookie.
Now I realise when the monsters come that everyone pulls back.
Now these are the. I love these shots from and there's. It's just the celebration in all sport is sensational, but there's just something about hockey when they all just like boom straight up to the goalie. Is it every sport that they're up to the goalie, or is hockey one of the few?
It's hockey's one of the few, but this is USA Canada. So when you understand the rivalry between USA and Canada in women's hockey, then you work out the Canadians have dominated for so long, and now the USA, it went to a penalty shootout, so you don't know who's going to win at this point. That's why I'm not on the glass. I've gone up high because if Canada win, then I can shoot Canada, and if the USA win, I've got the USA. If I'm on the glass, I can't actually know what I'm doing. Oh, I can't cover all my bases. So when the game went into overtime, that's when I headed up into the spectator stands. But yeah, and
spectator. So you were you behind the boxes though, or were you on the other side of the box?
I went up high, and I just sat in the passageway in between spectator seats to get up here.
Oh, cool.
So I'm not in my allocated media position. Look, all the photographers that knew their stuff moved up into the spectators so that we cover both halves, depending on where the celebration will be. But this is extra special because Canada beaten the US for so many years that now it was the USA's turn. And the celebration was insane. There's 300 great images of them celebrating. So,
yeah.
But when you hear the story, which someone explained to me, then you realise the importance of if USA win, they're going to go off because they lost the last 3 or 4 Olympics to Canada.
Yeah, right. And here you go. And here's the flip side.
Yeah. Well, during all the celebrations, you look over to Canada and look, and they're just like, and I went, that's probably the better picture in the end. And when you know the story, and it's like that, I wish I'd been on them for longer.
I've seen so many cry.
Yeah.
Big tough hockey players that play with broken fingers and wrists, and then when they lose a game, it's just like It's a passionate sport.
It is, and I mean, this team has now they didn't, but in theory, have let Canada down because they've won the gold medal for the last 3 or 4. So they must be terrible, the poor thing.
Oh, it's amazing, amazing shot. And that's the thing about sport. It's it's yin and yang, isn't it? It's you have the celebration and then there's the heartbreak.
Yeah, the heartbreak you don't think about often enough. And the only I looked over and I went, oh, geez, I look sad. So I swung the lens across, but it isn't something you think about. You think about winning, but here this proved that it was just as important to shoot the Canadians.
Yeah, absolutely. Now Delly Carr. This is inside Delly Carr. This is your passion project, right? I mean, the others putting food on the table, and this is Delly Carr playing photographer enthusiast who has photography purely for love, right?
Yeah, this is a point in time where I was a little over sports photography, and I wasn't sure if it was over photography or sports photography. I was tired. I'd lost motivation, and so I decided to do a passion project. You could probably see behind me there's a little bit of pop culture references in my life, and pop culture does inspire me in many ways through color and movement and tales and characters and stuff. So I did decide to do a project firstly on Star Wars. Funny enough, because I don't know about you, but when I first saw Star Wars at the cinemas when I was this big, and I went, oh my God, that Lucas guy is a genius. And that meant to me that anything can be done in movies or in photography or in the arts. And it inspired me. So, I then went and saw Star Wars 300 times later at the cinema and loved the sagas. So I started shooting Star Wars people, cosplayers. Right at that point in time, it was quite secretive. All these high-ranking judges or whatever were dressing up as Darth Vader on the weekends and blah, blah, blah. The Big Bang Theory made geekiness look cool, so people started to come out. And in this case, I got more and more pictures, and then the genres kept coming in. The Avengers started. There was all these others, all Batmans. There was a whole lot more. I went as far back as Marilyn. This was a Marilyn burlesque artist. But I didn't want to go further back than Marilyn or Elvis and the Beatles. And I went as far as Harry Potter, and I didn't go further than that. So I tried to photograph all the genres in between. And it took me I did 10 years of it and decided, well, now's the time to have the exhibition, which I did, and you were there, and we had a wonderful time. And it was just a passion project that I would use my spare weekends and spare time to photograph, and became entrenched in part of that world. I'm glad that I did it when I got these images together for you. It made my heart warm again. It was nice to remember all that time.
Yeah, and I remember that time too, because this is yours and my crossover work to a degree. I mean, like, I look at these images and they're very film set, and I'm glad that I'm not competing with you, because you'd probably nail me on that as well. But this is just a great behind the scenes shot, and then this one with Elvira, right?
Yeah, Elvira, and again another burlesque artist. She was a little bigger than the Elvira we know, but in saying that, her persona was Elvira, and this was the start of her act. It's a nice reference. That's a very iconic image of Elvira. So, that's where I was bringing it all in, or I was photographing people at their homes. So Darth Vader would be there hugging the dog under the stairs, all that sort of stuff.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So did you project that onto Darth?
I would just use a projector and slide projector and put that image on the back of Darth. The guy, where did he live? He lived Bathurst. The guy was in Bathurst.
I love
it. I was just trying to do something that's a little different to say Man on the Moon and the fictional, the fiction of Star Wars in this instance.
I actually have the current Darth Vader doing an interview with me next week.
No way! I'm watching.
Yeah. Yep. Spencer Wilding. He's a classic, and it should be fun actually.
That'd be awesome.
I love it so much. And there's my kooky dad.
I didn't give a shit. He's come out into the lounge room, and they're still watching their cartoons, and there's Dad dressed as a TIE fighter. It interesting.
Oh my god!
Why do some people latch on a particular character? Why didn't he want to be Luke Skywalker? Or why didn't he want to be Darth Vader? He loved the TIE fighters, the henchmen for Darth Vader. But yeah, the kids go, that's just Dad. That's how he is. It's like,
totally. And it's like, the old Acer computer or whatever it is in the background there's given it a massive timestamp.
It just shows you. Well, that's one of the first images I took.
Oh, really? So that's like 20, because the exhibition was probably 10 years ago, right?
Could be.
How long have we been ambassadors for? 10 years.
10 years.
So it'd be 7 or 8 years.
Wasn't it, when I finished it?
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. And this too, I love it. Just to show you, I mean, I don't even think I want to, I don't even need to see the other shot that you're doing, but had you planned to do it like this, or were you coming in with the background?
Yeah,
was this?
So when he came, this lady was a policewoman, so this was her, Alien was her persona or alter ego, whatever. But I guess part of the project was not to say I'm shooting the film Alien or I'm actually on the planet where they're from and whatever. This is a policewoman in a hotel room at a pop culture convention. So it's about cosplay. It's not more about the alien. And I was shooting it tight, just a black background. Then when I zoomed out, I went, wow, that looks even better. And
yeah, it does.
Perfection of how badly I did the studio setup and all that sort of stuff.
I know, with the bags holding up the backdrop and it's a classic.
Zoomed out, I went, it looks even better doing it like this.
It looks like there's blood splatter all over the curtains, though, Delly.
I know. Well, that was some sort of makeup thing. I know, it looks horrible. I noticed that.
Oh, that's hilarious. I love it. Oh, this is so cool. And we've got my Delly. Look at the young Delly in the background there.
Hey, look, no grey hairs.
I know, and short hair and oh my gosh.
Extreme. Michael Jackson. Well, he wasn't an impersonator. He'd had the whole surgery done. Thought he was Michael Jackson, etc., etc. So he wasn't on.
I love it.
But he did tribute shows at RSLs and stuff. But he played the part, the voice, everything. And when Michael Jackson did pass away, he was the guy that all the media went to make a comment, all that sort of stuff.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's kind of cool for him. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And boom!
So this is the flagship image.
I had to leave this to last, buddy.
Yeah,
it's just a classic image.
He's a lovely, lovely man who loves Chewie. He had a beautiful costume, but this is my humour coming into it. This is me thinking, what can I do that's different? I did ask him if he would chainsaw a teddy bear, which he said no. The kiddies don't think Chewie would do that. So this is my next best thing, and I hired the props, and the magazine, which was movie news, was actually mine. So that's I was into Star Wars, as I said. So I put a couple of magazines in there, but that one works because he's on the cover of the movie news.
I know, I love it. I think it's an absolute classic. Hey, Delly Carr, I know that I kept you way longer than what I promised, but I couldn't stop.
Thank you. No, it's as I said, I've had a few weeks off just recently, and to go back through my old stuff and the archiving and looking at stuff, I've realised I've had a good career. You forget that. You forget what you've done and what you contributed. And this was a beautiful point in my life where I was doing something different, and I realised, I'm good at sport, but I can also do a little bit of something else. And that exhibition went on for a couple of years and toured, all the states in the country. But I'm looking at
I didn't know.
Yeah, it was in 8 or 9 exhibitions in the end.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah, it touched. Yeah, it was, and it's still a big deal. As I said, all the Avengers movies and everything else that comes out. There's a lot of stuff happening in that pop culture world. And this was at the start. Big Bang Theory was coming out, and being a geek was cool. It wasn't. Yeah. But then
the geek shall inherit the earth.
Yeah, and it's now all the sports stuff we've just gone through. I've had a long, wonderful career. I think my best work is just recent, but I look back on all the old stuff, the Olympic Games in 2000, and it's all historical. It's part of this country's culture, sport.
Yeah. Hey, I've never had an exhibition. Is it nerve-wracking?
Oh, it's tough. It's hard. The first one, it didn't kill me, but there's a lot of work than you could imagine. But I had a great night the first opening night that you were at, and didn't go to bed, and we continued the next day. And so it's a wonderful way in the end. So you got wonderful content. You've got movie stars and rock stars and all that sort of stuff. So you've got stuff that people can relate to. It is a lot of work, but it's worth it.
Yeah, but you're an artist. I'm just a hack. I look at this stuff. I couldn't come up with these ideas. It's just not in my photography DNA. I think it's just brilliant.
Humor. That's just my weird sense of humor. That's
yes, we've shared that many times. Hey, Mr. Carr, I am going to let you go shortly, but I would like you to do me one favour.
Yes.
And give any tips to those aspiring young sports photographers out there, or just anyone that has a dream of shooting sports. How do you practice?
Jasin, you're an example of this. People think it's about the camera. They think it's about the f-stop. They think it's the ISO. There's something in your menus that will make you a great photographer, and that's not right. That's not the truth. And yes, you have to be a good photographer, and yes, you try and equip yourself with the best equipment that you can afford and you have at the time or to the purpose that you want to use it for. Not enough people remember marketing. They don't remember that you are a brand name. I am Delly. You are Jasin. This guy's Rocco. And when they think of your names, they know what you're going to give them. So you are a brand. You have to be 50% photographer, creative, but you've got to be 50% businessman. People will work with you if they like you, and you have to work with people you like. So you work on your image, you work on your message, You do a proper business plan, you do proper accounting, present yourself the proper way, and that's how any creative or anyone in the musical world or the flower arrangers or whatever the case may be, it's up to them to promote themselves as who they are. So when someone sees your name, you want to project an image. They'll go, oh, it's Jasin. I know exactly the images I'm going to get. And he's a cool guy, and we can have a beer and a laugh after the event. So that's the sort of stuff. And people think it's all about photography, but in any creative world, it's about being a businessman, having an image, being the creative person you are as well.
That's really good advice.
No one wants to hear that. They think, I have an exercise book with, if you use this f-stop and this ISO, you'll make great pictures, and that's bull. It's part of it. It's all part of it.
Yeah, you're 100% right. It's and I think that's where the specializing comes from. It's like, when you're talking about it then, and I mean, you're using me as an example, but I was seeing you, and it was like, yeah, okay. So when I hear Delly Carr's name, I see that photograph of the fencer jumping up in the air and all that. So yeah, it's and still images are what's embedded into people's brains for history. It's I don't know what it is. It must be just because you're looking at that one frame and it just seals into the brain. So
totally agree.
There you go.
Totally agree.
Hey, buddy, I'm going to sign off, but I'm going to put you in the green room for a tick. And I must thank you so much. You're a true dear friend, and thank you so much for doing this with me.
When you asked, it was definite yes. But yeah, I'm looking forward to catching up, buddy.
All right, cool. I'll just throw you in the green room and I'll be back. So, team, there you have it. There's my buddy, Delly Carr, and as I promised you, his work is extraordinary and the most unique sporting stills that I've ever seen. If you can, subscribe and do the bell so you get notified next time we're on. But thank you. See you later.